Self-discipline. That's what it is. Principle number 2 is self-discipline. When you go into strict training, you won't fail your physical at camp.
Right.
You prepare yourself. You're ready to go. One of my ex-students at 71st, some of you may know her. She's down at Pembroke. She's in the Air Force ROTC program. Just went to training camp last summer. And she never did like the physical stuff. Very bright, very intelligent, knew she was going to do well academically, but I always was worried about her physicality. She was didn't like running too much. She didn't like sweating. And so her mother called me while she was down there, and she said, "Colonel, could you write her a little note of encouragement?" So I made a card. I made a special card for her. I sent her a card and what have you. I put a picture of her on there when she was at 71st. She was our wing commander. She's tough, right? She's a really good speaker, but that physical stuff just wasn't her push-ups, just wasn't her forte. When she got back, she finished the program. Her mother called me. She said, has my daughter called you yet? I said, no, she hasn't. How did she do? She said, well, I'm going to let her tell you. So finally she called me and she said, Colonel, they killed me. They broke me down. I said, did you learn something? She said, yes. I said, what was it? She said, I got to train. I got to be in shape.
All right.
I got to be in shape.
All right. All right.
Those of you who are thinking about going to the Army, and that was Air Force training, by the way. She may not have made it through the Army training at home. I'm telling you, you gotta train.
Amen.
Self-discipline. You gotta deny yourself. You can't be eating Twinkies all day. Although I did have some neck bones. You got to be able to reduce or eliminate mindless behavior.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what mindless behavior is? Texting. That's it. What? PlayStation 3. It's okay to do that sometime, but you got to get a strict schedule. You can't goof off and play PlayStation 3 for 3 hours, text all night, eat Twinkies all day, and expect to be able to compete in the games of life. You want to ascend to the top of that chart we looked at. You got to get up at least to that bachelor's degree. I'm telling you, as Brandon said, it's hard to get a job just with a high school education now, right?
Amen.
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough. So you got to go into strict training. Paul goes on to say in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 26, he said, therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly, or I do not fight like a man beating the air. That's what you're doing when you're doing this. You're beating the air. You're running aimlessly. You've forgotten your purpose. You've forgotten your goals. It's great. That's what happens. So the end of the year comes. They have senior awards day. Hey, you going to awards day, fellow? No, sir, I don't think I'm going. Why? Yeah, I don't like it. Because he's not getting anything. I was in the high school for 16 years, guys. I taught high school. There are some students that are so disciplined, and I just love the way they do it. I remember I had a student who played football. He's a major in the Army right now. He played football. He was the captain of our drill team. He held another important position at the school. And I said, man, Chiz, how do you do all of this stuff? He said, well, sir, he said, well, after football practice, I go home, I eat, I study for about 2 hours, and I go to sleep. Take a shower and go to bed. He said, I get up in the morning at 4 in the morning, and I study again. Then, as you know, I'm out here at 7 o'clock with drill practice, because he couldn't practice in the afternoon. And he was, this guy, I knew he was going somewhere. I knew he had it in him. He was in strict training. He had set himself up a real schedule. All right? Self-discipline requires a structured routine. You got to stay away from the unhealthy things. Paul goes on to say in verse 27 of chapter 9, he said, I beat my body daily. He said, no, I beat my body daily. I make it my slave. In other words, I am not going to gravitate and just go out and get everything I want. I'm going to wait. I'm going to follow the deferred gratification principle. I'm going to wait until a little later on. I'm not going to go into that just yet. I'm going to deny this. I'm going to deny this to myself. Keep working at it. Amen. Then when you're self-disciplined, you got to make sure that you are not negatively influenced by others. That's a biggie. Amen. Especially when you go off to college. You get away from home. You're free. Finally made it. Just got my own room and do what I want to do. Sleep late as I want to sleep. Oh man. But you don't have that schedule laid out. You don't have a set routine. You come home, you plan on studying, right? Then your friend comes up, man, let's go get some pizza. Man, I was going to do some study. Man, I'm dying. Let's go. Get some pizza. You go. You know you should have been studying. And don't have a car. Especially if you're a freshman. You have a car when you're a freshman. Unless you're self-disciplined, you'll be everywhere. Buddies be driving you crazy. Hey, man, take me over here, man. I got to go pick this up. Got to go. Oh, okay. Parents know what I'm talking about. I almost had to take the car from my youngest son. Call him, well, where are you, man? He said, well, my girlfriend works. She didn't get off till midnight. I'm going to pick her up. What? You up every night, going to pick you up midnight, man, you're going to flunk out of school. Come take in my car. A car, you got to be self-disciplined. Finally, in Philippians 3:12, this is our primary text. And I love what Paul talks about in Philippians chapter 3, verse 12. He's still speaking to the church. He said, brothers, my Christian friends, he said, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, and what is that? Forgetting what lies behind, and I strain toward for what's lies ahead. In other words, I ain't looking back.
All right.
It ain't what I did in the past. It's what I'm going to do in the future.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Wait till you see me a few years from now. You know? Maybe you made some mistakes when you were in the 9th grade. Maybe you weren't the most popular student when you were a senior. Maybe your freshman year in college wasn't the best. But it's not about the past. I got to forget about that. I'm going to look toward the future.
Satan tells me I'm a child of God.
Amen.
Even though what I tell myself sometimes, I'm still a child of God.
Amen.
Even when somebody tells me something, I'm still a child of God. Even when I feel bad and I fall on my face, I'm still a child of God.
Amen. Amen.
Because positionally, God sees me as holy.